Kings and Queens, welcome to yet another episode of the Stars and Stripes radio show, proudly brought to you by the U.S. Mission in partnership with Gabs FM. And of course, we've had a couple of months of great radio on the Stars and Stripes show, highlighting the bilateral relationship between the U.S. government and of course the BW government, talking shared health, shared prosperity. We touched on a number of different topics, including climate change, your constitutional rights, democracy, and of course, today on the show, we're just going to go through some of the highlights of the year and wishing you nothing but happy holidays. And if you traveled around the country, well, we trust that you travel safe. Now, of course, Kings and Queens, remember, you've got to follow the U.S. Embassy on all social media platforms. There are so many opportunities available for Botswana on the U.S. Embassy social media pages. Actually, just 2 days ago, I saw an opportunity for a scholarship on the U.S. Embassy pages, and definitely I shall highlight those for you. But without further ado, let's continue conversation. Welcome to the U.S. Mission special New Year's Eve segment of the Stars and Stripes radio show. As we head into a new year, the U.S. Mission would like to dedicate this show to our reflection of 2022. Look, at the end of the day, if you made it this far, you've done a phenomenal job. And share some of our U.S. Botswana successes for the past year. The U.S. Mission is proud of all we have accomplished together, both you and I, and of course the citizen of the Republic of Botswana, and of course the BW government. And let me hand over to Aisha Huey, who is the U.S. Embassy's public diplomacy section, who's going to touch on the U.S. Embassy's public diplomacy section. And of course, this is what she had to say. On the other side of these adverts, you'll be hearing the voice of Aisha. Good morning.
The Stars and Stripes show is brought to you by the U.S. Embassy.
Welcome to the U.S. Mission special New Year's Eve segment of the American Botswana Stars and Stripes show. As we head into a new year, the U.S. Mission would like to dedicate this show to our reflection of 2022 and share some of our U.S. Botswana successes from this past year. The U.S. Mission is proud of all that we have accomplished with the people and government of Botswana in 2022. My name is Aisha Chowdhury Huey, and I am with the U.S. Embassy's Public Diplomacy section. I will take this opportunity to highlight some of the many accomplishments Botswana and the United States have achieved together this year, as our strong partnership is truly a noteworthy one. Let's start with what we've done together in 2022 to help bring Botswana out of the COVID-19 pandemic and mitigate the challenges COVID-19 presented over the last few years. We have learned so much from the pandemic. In total, over 3 million COVID-19 vaccine doses have been administered in Botswana to date. Nearly 82% of the population in Botswana has received at least one COVID vaccine, which is far more than most countries in the world. One of our proudest achievements has been the U.S. Embassy and American people's contribution to fighting the war against COVID-19. As of October 2022, the U.S. government has provided nearly $22 million in assistance to mitigate the health and socioeconomic impacts of COVID-19 for the people of Botswana. Of that $22 million in bilateral funding, $10.6 million is for support for infection prevention and control, which includes oxygen support. $1.7 million is for the construction of COVID-19 isolation facilities to support pandemic mitigation efforts in remote and under-resourced communities across Botswana. And $4.9 million supports vaccination programs, and this is just to name a few. The U.S. Department of Defense also completed and transferred 14 COVID clinics that will be used for remote healthcare, maternity wards, and other medical purposes as the pandemic wanes. The U.S. Mission's USAID office also worked hard this year to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 in Botswana by strengthening healthcare systems and combating misinformation and vaccine hesitancy.
Well, it's Gabs FM Power to Engage Your World, showing an example of the shared economy. I always say, you're part and parcel of the shared economy. And this goes to show and highlights the bilateral relationship between the United States government and the BW government, talking shared health. And of course, the past 2 years have been an example of the importance of shared health and supporting one another to get to a healthier nation, especially in the backdrop of the pandemic. Kings and Queens, let's go on now. PEPFAR PEPFAR has played a huge and made a huge difference in the lives of Botswana nationwide. And this is what PEPFAR, and of course, we're going to hear from Aisha yet again.
Beyond COVID-19 assistance, the cornerstone of the U.S.-Botswana partnership is our combined efforts to control the HIV epidemic. This year, the government of Botswana and the U.S. President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, also known as PEPFAR, also Botswana's World Health Organization Silver Tier Status Achievement for elimination of mother-to-child transmission of HIV. This award recognizes countries which have brought the mother-to-child HIV transmission rate to under 5%, provided antenatal care and antiretroviral treatment to more than 90% of pregnant women, and achieved an HIV case rate of fewer than 500 per 100,000 live births. This accomplishment is massive and could have only been accomplished through the enduring U.S.-Botswana health partnership over the past 20 years.
Well, it's Gabs FM Power to engage your world, and I've loved to applaud the BW government and, of course, the U.S. Embassy and the United States government. You know, together as members of the global citizenry, we have made a huge difference. And, of course, 2022 belongs to both the U.S. government and the BW government and all its partners, including Gabs FM, civic society, and, of course, you, the biggest stakeholder of PTY Ltd. Let's continue and hear what more impact that we have done through the PEPFAR initiative. Much to celebrate between the U.S. Embassy, the U.S. government and the Botswana government. I must say this is a partnership that works. It is a great case study for, different components of our economy, whether from the health sector to the business sector or to the eco-social sector. For the fact that I can also attest is rural testing. I remember even in my home village, as far as Marapo, that's out in the north, that, the government had rural testing for people living with HIV and getting ARVs out to every corner of this country. So that is definitely something to highlight, a great achievement. Look, let's bring Musarwa back into the conversation and say, how has the U.S. government supported Botswana in reaching this great results shown in this conversation?
Yes, first of all, let me say that the country, in partnership with the U.S. government, conducted what we called the Botswana AIDS Impact Survey.
Okay.
In short, we say bias 5 because it was the 5th survey that we conducted. The U.S. government has provided support to Botswana in funding and providing technical support for the implementation of the Bias 5 survey.
Okay.
I want to note that the Bias 5 survey was conducted under extremely difficult circumstances when COVID was surging, when the numbers were going up, when you're talking Delta.
Yes.
And the team worked very hard to make sure that it was completed. And since its inception, PEPFAR has supported Botswana's HIV response, providing substantial resources, as was noted by Mr. Kinosi earlier during the conversation, over the past 19 years.
Yes.
Along with funding, PEPFAR Botswana through U.S. government agencies, USAID, CDC, Peace Corps, ESA, Department of Defense, and implementing partners, has provided technical assistance to the government of Botswana in areas of prevention, testing, and care and treatment. The support has also focused on capacity building to healthcare workers and service providers and help to strengthen the existing clinical systems within the Ministry of Health, community systems, supply chain, laboratory, and data surveillance systems. Additionally, PEPFAR agencies have funded implementing partners to provide direct service delivery, complementing what our government in Botswana is already doing and focusing on closing existing gaps.
Wow. You can tell that it is a well-defined partnership between the U.S. government and Botswana, from infrastructure to capacity. And I think capacity is an important component of, winning this war. Well, it's Gabs FM, power to engage your world. Welcome to the Stars and Stripes radio show, proudly brought to you by the U.S. Embassy in partnership with Gabs FM. Look out for the PEPFAR initiative, a brilliant initiative, and whether we like it or not, our preparedness for health pandemics is evident through the partnership with the BW government and, of course, the U.S. government. I think we need to echo this more and more and more. 95% of people living with HIV in Botswana were aware of their status. 98% of those were aware of their status and were on antiretroviral therapy, as well as, or sometimes known as ART. And 98% of those on ART achieved viral load suppression. That is congratulations to you, the biggest stakeholder of Botswana Pty Ltd. And shared health is an important component of the advancement of the Republic of Botswana. Look, if you just joined us on the show, we're highlighting the great partnerships that we have managed to achieve between the BW government and the U.S. government through the Stars and Stripes radio show, proudly brought to you by the U.S. mission in partnership with Gabs FM. Look, I'm going to cross over back to Aisha and let's check out what the CDC and how the CDC supported the strengthening of Botswana's public health emergency preparedness by supporting the establishment and, of course, the operationalization of Botswana Public Health Institution. Hey! So
This year, the CDC supported the strengthening of Botswana's public health emergency preparedness by supporting the establishment and helping operate the Botswana Public Health Institute, which will ultimately strengthen public health systems and provide safe, comprehensive, and high-quality public health services and coordination management of future public health emergencies. CDC also supported the government of Botswana to re-establish the Field Epidemiology Training Program, which will add trained public health workers to detect and control disease outbreaks. As the U.S. mission saw our programming return to in-person exchanges, we held the first PEPFAR Have It All Brand Ambassadors program. The program selected 6 young Botswana ambassadors and provided them with training and grants to spread awareness about HIV/AIDS within their communities.
Well, it's Gabs FM, power to engage your world, and that is the importance of Skillshare. You know, this principle of a Skillshare initiative is one of my absolute favorite, where we come together and we empower each other. And that is what the relationship between the U.S. government and the BW government highlights, the importance of shared health. Kings and queens, welcome to the show. You're officially on the Stars and Stripes radio show, the last one of the year that was 2022, where we are highlighting some of the most important milestones between the U.S. government and the BW government. Now, we're going to cross over quickly to this Ask the Charge or Ask the Acting Ambassador, and this is what we had to say. Wow, Zeus Deuce, we actually have a surprise today. We'll definitely be having Seretse on the show and the natives. Do you guys know who the natives are? Well, I'll ask you that question a bit later. The next question we got to ask the Charge was, what is your favorite thing to do in Botswana? This is what she had to say.
Well, I'm an avid swimmer and hiker. And, you know, while I'm afraid to swim in Botswana because of crocodiles and hippos, I was recently able to compete in a 3-mile swimming race at the Ebenezer Dam in South Africa. I did find out afterwards that there were hippos there, so I'm not really sure if I'll participate again next year, but it was really a fun experience. And on the hiking front, my husband and I recently went with the Mosepele Hiking Club to the hills behind the Botswana Police College in Otse. It was really exciting. We bushwhacked up and down the hills, and it was very adventurous because there were no trails. I just really love to be outside. Botswana is an incredibly beautiful country.
Wow, my rule is that I don't swim in water where I cannot see the bottom. Swift? No, forget about it. If I don't see the bottom, Amanda, I don't get into it. Well, it's Gabs FM, power to engage your world, and that's the truth. If I don't see the bottom of the water, then I'm not getting in. And your time is 11:24. Welcome to the Stars and Stripes show. I'm going to bump you a great song, and we continue conversation shortly after this. Good morning. It's Gabs FM, power to engage your world. This one is so Matrix, Mina now, wherever you're celebrating your holidays, we're wishing you nothing but happy holidays on behalf of the U.S. Embassy and, of course, the BW government and, of course, Gabs FM. Well, if you're on the road, please sincerely travel safe and make sure you arrive alive. Your life is more important to us than getting there in a hurry. Kings and Queens, remember, welcome to the Stars and Stripes radio show, the 2022 edition, where we're celebrating and highlighting some of our milestone achievements on this particular platform. Now, remember the Peace Corps, changing lives the world over. The Peace Corps is a service opportunity for motivated change makers to immerse themselves in a community abroad, working side by side with local leaders to tackle the most pressing challenges of our generation. And you must understand, this year, the U.S. Embassy, in partnership with the BW government, brought back the Peace Corps to Botswana, the Republic of Botswana. We also celebrated the return of the Peace Corps volunteers back to Botswana this year. Now, listen to this.
Oh, Zeus, we actually have a surprise today. We'll definitely be
technical issues. It's called Order and Chaos. Let's continue conversation. I meant to play you this clip.
We also celebrated the return of our Peace Corps volunteers back in Botswana this year. Peace Corps volunteers are currently serving in communities in Botswana to support the fight against HIV/AIDS, as well as to promote world peace and friendship. Peace Corps also continues its mission through virtual service, where returned Peace Corps volunteers supported local government offices in Botswana and Botswana civil society organizations virtually.
Well, thank you. Look, the Peace Corps is an important component of civic society. And if you're a member of civic society, please feel free to Google the Peace Corps. Try and see. It's www.peacecorps.gov. Peace Corps is corps.gov. Please make sure that you register. Look, as a civic society member, you can get somebody who is a leader or an industry leader in a certain industry, for example, health, for example, sport, and you can engage the U.S. Embassy on how you would like that Peace Corps volunteer to be part and parcel of your organization. I think you can benefit from such things. And of course, welcome to the Stars and Stripes show, the 30th of December, the last one before we celebrate what is going to be the year that was 2023. And of course, we're welcoming it in style. Kings and Queens, let's continue conversation now. Remember, you're on the Stars and Stripes show, hashtag America in Botswana, where we celebrate the important component of being members of the global citizenry. And of course, let's continue conversation. This is what Aisha had to say on consular affairs. Good morning.
Shifting gears from health to travel. Even though the pandemic slowed down global travel, the U.S. Embassy's consular section made visa appointments availability a priority. We know that many Botswana citizens want to travel to the United States for business, vacation, or to visit loved ones. So we facilitated over 3,600 visa appointments. That's more appointments in 2022 than had been offered in Botswana in any other year.
Well, thank you so much. You know, one thing that I think Botswana need to take advantage of is obviously our business opportunities within the U.S. Embassy and, of course, travel. You know, one thing that I think on the Stars and Stripes show, we're going to take a brand new direction next year. Hopefully, we're going to talk about a lot more of these opportunities that you, the biggest member of Botswana PTY Ltd, can take advantage of some of the business, including AGOA, and the U.S. Embassy has support platforms through American Business Council that is driven by members of the BW government and members who are actually Botswana, who understand what it takes to, be a part of the business community in Botswana. Look, let's cross over to shared security. And of course, on the security side, Botswana is a model for peace and stability. That's one thing that we have done so well on the global stage, including good governance and commitment to the rule of law. And let me tell you something, this has presented a great partnership between the U.S. government and the BW government. We have done so much, including training with the Botswana Defense Force and, the U.S. Embassy's Army Wing. And of course, this is important. One thing that I've got to say we're very, very proud is one of our very own has gone to an institution called West Point. You have to understand West Point is, if I'm not mistaken, the leading military institution in the world. And of course, this goes to show our partnership in terms of shared security. Listen to this.
This is Wabile Tau, emerging voice and alumni coordinator with the public diplomacy section. On the security side, Botswana is a model of peace and stability, good governance, and commitment to the rule of law in Africa. Our two nations' strong security cooperation and programming is evidence of this great partnership. This year, the U.S. Department of Defense supported Botswana Defense Force training in a number of ways. We sponsored a Motswana who is now at the prestigious United States Military Academy at West Point. We also led the military training exercise, Epic Guardian. This is an annual U.S.-Africa military exercise designed to strengthen the ability of partner nations in the region to provide security and stability and effectively identify and respond to crisis events. This exercise highlights the strong partnership between the U.S. Embassy in Botswana and the Botswana Defense Force. The mission's International Law Enforcement Academy in Botswana re-established in-person training in March 2022 after 2 years of virtual training due to COVID. Through the resumption of in-person training, we capacitated over 1,228 African law enforcement and criminal justice personnel from 33 African nations and Brazil. More on the security front. The U.S. Missions Office of Security Cooperation in Botswana hosted the country coordination meeting of 25 plus U.S. nationals from across the Department of Defense, as well as 40 plus officials from the Botswana Defense Force, BDF, and the Ministry of Defense and Security, the first of its kind in 4 years. The result is an agreement on a multi-year security cooperation plan. Our office security cooperation also planned and executed the first ever Security Forces Assistance Brigade training rotation to work with BDF Ground Force in Botswana and the DOD, and BDF participated in 2 joint combined exchange training rotations. The United States, through the U.S. Embassy in Botswana, supported Botswana as the 2022 chair of the Kimberley process, including supporting Botswana's bid to host the permanent secretariat for the Kimberley process. The United States is ready to partner with Botswana to welcome the secretariat to Gaborone and to support a reformed agenda to ensure the Kimberley process can address contemporary challenges and expand its definition of conflict diamonds to ensure the Kimberley process can meet its conflict mitigation purpose. The U.S.-Botswana partnership on diamond is powerful and brings together the world's top consumer with the top producer by value. We welcome Botswana's selection and congratulate all Botswana on this important outcome of the Kimberley process preliminary meeting in November 2022.
What an achievement. Well, it's Gabs FM, powered to engage your world. And of course, welcome to the Stars and Stripes show. The Kimberley Process Secretariat is definitely a milestone achievement, and well done to the BW government and of course the US Embassy and the US government. Kings and Queens, we're going to continue conversation shortly after this, and this time we're going to touch on climate change. We know climate change. We've seen COP27, the importance of understanding climate change and our role as not only the citizenry but members of the global citizens internationally. Whether you are a US citizen or a BW citizen, climate change is our responsibility. Good morning.
On air Online. Power to engage your world. Gabs FM.
It's Gabs FM, power to engage your world. Debra tat, what you like, and 3956962. If you'd like to engage with me on the Stars and Stripes radio show, feel free to call me on 3956962. And welcome to the Stars and Stripes 2022 edition, where we highlight some of the milestone achievements that the BW government and the US government have done together, including the citizens of the United States and the citizens of the Republic of Botswana. Kings and queens, solar energy and climate change is an important component of our everyday life. We can't talk about climate without mentioning the 27th UN Climate Conference, also known as COP27. And of course, this is where the US President Joe Biden announced new initiatives that will help us in tackling the climate crisis, whether you are in Botswana or you are in the United States of America. Now, we're going to touch on some of this, and this is what we had on the show in line with solar energy. Let me take you down memory lane. Listen to this.
The Stars and Stripes show is brought to you by the U.S. Embassy.
It's Gabs FM, power to engage your world. Welcome back to the Stars and Stripes show. America in Botswana, talking shared culture, shared prosperity, and shared opportunities. Whether you like it or not, there's a lot that we can benefit from the Stars and Stripes radio show. And of course, thank you to the Botswana government and the US government for coming together and offering value for the citizen of this country. And of course, please feel free to head over to the US Embassy Facebook pages and feel free to like their Facebook, Instagram, Twitter pages. They got a lot of information on those platforms, grants and opportunities for you and I. And okay, we're going to move along into what is called the Partner Spotlight. This is where you get to know, the friends of the show, friends of the US Embassy Botswana. If you are a Yale alumni, a Mandela Washington Fellow alumni, or you are part of the IVLP program, this is where we get to interact with you, understand your projects and grants. And we would like to hear from you directly. So please get in touch with us through the US Embassy's Facebook page. And we also want to hear the testimonial from the voice of the Botswana. Now let's get back into it. Today's show is Solar Power in Botswana, and we've got none other than Re Ditologo DT Mile, Director of Sustainable Energy Botswana, here with us in studio. Bratiti, welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Oh, thank you very much, Swift.
Yes, sir.
And good morning to Gabs FM listeners at home.
Yes. Rumor has that you've got a big bull at a farm somewhere in the Gaborone area. Rumor has, is that true? Yes.
Well,
or no?
I've heard that rumor also.
Okay.
Gift. I am a farmer.
Okay.
Yes, but I'm by training. I'm a quantity surveyor. I've been
Fantastic.
a quantity surveyor for the practicing quantity surveying for the past 29 years to 30 years.
Geez, so you understand the numbers.
I do. I'm
Okay.
a numbers man.
Okay.
Attention to detail.
Aha, that's why you're my friend.
Yes.
Okay.
But I participate in a lot of different things. One of the things that I do is farming at a commercial level. And actually, that is what has brought me to solar.
Yes.
In the first place, when I looked at how it made sense to utilize the sun that we have in abundance in our country. And as a result, we did form a company called Sustainable Energy Botswana, which I'm a director of, and that's why we're here today to talk about solar and how we can benefit Botswana.
So as a farmer, you identified there's a strong component of farming that uses a lot of electricity or diesel, and that obviously pushed you into this industry to say, look, can solar power really provide you with the kind of output you need as a farmer?
Yes, Swift. I mean, just to put things into perspective.
Yes.
I used to use like 1,200 liters of diesel a month just to pump water out of the ground. And if you to look at today's prices, that would have cost me about 258,000 kula a year just to pump water. And as you can see by the numbers, that is not sustainable.
Absolutely not.
I mean, I made my transition a few years ago. That was before even the energy prices are where they are today. So you can imagine that I had a look at how you can actually transition and position yourself to reduce reliance on fossil fuels. And also to just, farming is a beautiful business. You need to keep it quiet and bond with nature.
Yes.
And, where we farm, like in the Western Sandbelt, it's out, and it's the only form of electricity you could get is diesel generation.
Yes.
And it's noisy.
Yes.
It pollutes the atmosphere.
Yes.
And obviously, as a responsible farmer, I was interested more in reducing my carbon footprint as much as I can, because I know cattle in their nature produce a lot of methane.
Look, there's a component, an assumption that solar is very expensive. There is a narrative, and this is not part of my formal questioning, but just to digress slightly, motivate the fact that solar is an investment versus a cost, because a lot of Botswana may perceive solar to be this very, very expensive, especially in farming and other components. From somebody who's operating in the business sector, how would you motivate that solar is a good investment?
Thank you very much, sir. That's a very interesting question. And actually, it allows me to bust a few myths surrounding solar.
Yes.
If you look at solar, first of all, you have to look at whether solar is actually reliable. I think that's one of the first things you have to look at.
Absolutely.
If you look at the source of solar power is the sun. Every day the sun rises without fail. It's always on time. It's never late.
Yeah.
And you can depend on it.
Yes.
And therefore, as a result, if you look at Botswana, for example, as a country, Brian has mentioned earlier on in part one of this show that we, like, in terms of irradiance, which is the energy we can harvest from the sun, measured per watts per square meter, is actually the fifth highest in the world, which is actually very high. So in that way, when you look at that, as Botswana, we have like 320 days of clear skies.
Yes.
We can predict and produce solar energy that is reliable in this country. And therefore, it comes as a no-brainer for anyone to just naturally progress into transitioning into using solar as a source of energy, which is cleaner, cheaper, because if you look at what the World Energy Council has actually indicated, that solar energy has actually become one of the cheapest form of energy.
Yes. I actually was having an argument with somebody about that coincidentally yesterday, with what is going on between Russia and Ukraine, and the gas prices. Solar has now become so attractive to a lot of people, including within the trade wars between China and Germany being one of the top producers of solar. You can tell that solar is providing a favorable position for a lot of people, especially in business. So I do agree with you. Let's talk about Botswana adopting technology and how they're promoting the uptake. How's it going in the business sector? Are people opening their doors to the idea? Is there a lot of knowledge and information that needs to be disseminated to Botswana? Well, it's Gabs FM, power to engage your world. And of course, that was a clip from our episode on solar energy. Shout out to you, the Botswana, who's definitely embracing solar, especially in the farming sector. Look, let's cross over to Amelia Adams, the public affairs officer of the U.S. Embassy in Gaborone. And of course, this is what she had to say. She's got a message on climate change that you've got to understand. Listen to this.
Hi, this is Amelia Adams, the Public Affairs Officer at the U.S. Embassy here in Botswana. Climate change is a topic near and dear to our hearts. That's why in 2022, Botswana Climate Change Network was awarded a $100,000 grant to help women agricultural leaders in the region transition to solar energy farming practices. Now, we can't talk about climate change without mentioning the 27th UN Climate Conference, also known as COP27. During this conference, U.S. President Joe Biden announced new initiatives that will help us all in tackling the climate crisis, motivate global action and commitments. Botswana's President Masisi participated in this important dialogue as well. Through President Biden's Emergency Plan for Adaptation and Resilience, also known as PREPARE plan, the United States is working with our partners to help 500 million people, including women, youth, affected communities, and indigenous peoples in developing countries, build resilience to the climate crisis. Through PREPARE, we are working with the UN Secretary General and other partners to bring climate information and early warning systems to the 1/3 of the global population, including 60% of people in Africa who do not currently have access to these services to inform their decisions about how to address climate risks. The U.S. mission also moved vigorously with water conservation project planning this year. The result will be a detailed mapping of the Okavango watershed and delta and eventual Army Corps of Engineers conservation programs. We also are committed to improving the environment on a local grassroots level as well. On Earth Day this year, the U.S. Embassy partnered with the Gaborone City Council and the Government Ward Development Committee to launch the Maboho Dinku Community Garden. This project was officially launched at the Extension 11 Park in Gaborone to encourage community mobilization, volunteerism, experiential learning, entrepreneurship, and environmental conservation. The community garden features plants indigenous to Botswana, a vegetable garden, an outdoor classroom, and 2 lending libraries for the local community to enjoy free of charge. The garden will provide a space for Botswana to gather and develop an appreciation for the outdoors, foster civic responsibility, and also enable the public to better understand the benefits and opportunity of indigenous plants. Our mission has made big strides in food security this year as well. We worked with members of Botswana Department of Agricultural Research, DAR, biotechnology team in the drafting of a national biosafety bill after traveling throughout Botswana, meeting with 560 district leaders, farmers, and community chiefs. Tackling the climate crisis is at the center of U.S. foreign policy, diplomacy, and national security.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And this goes to show the power of the relationship between the U.S. government and the BW government. Kings and queens, I cannot stress it enough. Please feel free to engage the U.S. Embassy through their social media platforms, their website, and engage them on some of these initiatives and opportunities. Look, Amelia's not done. There are more opportunities that she'd like to highlight. And of course, this is what she had to say in line with some of the scholarships, some of the programs that the U.S. Embassy facilitates on behalf of the U.S. government for you, the biggest stakeholder of Botswana, PTY Ltd. This is what Amelia Adams, Public Affairs Officer of the U.S. Embassy in Gaborone, had to say as well.
The U.S. Embassy manages diverse academic, professional, and cultural exchange programs. These include the Fulbright Foreign Scholar Program for academics, the Young Africa Leaders Initiative Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young Professionals, otherwise known as YALI, and the International Visitors Leadership Program. This year, the U.S. Embassy also piloted the Fulbright English Teaching Assistant Program for the first time here in Botswana. The ETA program places Fulbrighters in classrooms abroad to provide assistance to the local English teachers. ETAs help teach English language while also serving as cultural ambassadors to the U.S. This year, we saw ETAs placed in both Sabong and Gaborone here in Botswana. And that's not all. 2022 saw the reopening of in-person Education USA advising services at our Massa Public Affairs Office location. Botswana recorded a 6% increase in Botswana students studying in the U.S. We now have 231 Botswana students in the U.S. This is based on the 2021-22 Open Doors report. To date, 121 Botswana have participated in the YALI Fellowship Program. We are proud to count the former Minister of Investment, Trade, and Industry as one of the youngest female ministers on the continent among our alumni. The Mandela Washington Fellowship Program empowers Botswana participants to effect positive change by enhancing their leadership skills, spurring entrepreneurship, strengthening civil society organizations, and connecting YALI alumni with one another, as well as with other young leaders in Africa and the United States. Botswana's focus on developing a knowledge-based economy also requires retooling its curricula and its educational accreditation policies. The U.S. is poised to share its expertise with the Botswana's Qualifications Authority and the Ministries of Education to ensure that Botswana students acquire the skills and knowledge necessary to equip them for future economic shifts. The U.S. Embassy recently awarded a $250,000 university partnership grant to the Florida International University and the Ministry of Education to develop renewable energy curriculum and certificate programs and also train teachers for Botswana's brigades.
Well, it's Gabs FM, power to engage your world, and investing in human capital is the answer of the future of Botswana Pty Ltd. Kings and Queens, let's continue conversation. Look, I've got to play you one more clip, which was one of my favorite episodes across the Stars and Stripes radio show. It is definitely in line with breast cancer, and I think this is a topic that we've got to do more awareness around, especially for males to be a part of this conversation and understand that breast cancer affects you, me, our sisters, our mothers, and everybody else. Well, before we get into it, let me talk to you about the psychology around it. You know, at the age of 29, you're young, your age mates and your social circles, the psychology and the mental health around that particular experience. Just walk us through, paint a picture of that journey.
Yeah, oh my gosh. You know, I always say this, when you're 29 or you're in your 30s or even 40s, I mean, you're starting out in life, right? You're figuring out your career, your relationship status. You're not thinking about health per se. You might be running, you might be, doing the usual physical activity, but you're not thinking about life-threatening illnesses at that age. So that right there is so hard for younger women to, I think, absorb or accept. And so first and foremost, like, I was working on Capitol Hill, I was covering Congress. And so I was hustling, I was having fun, I was doing good. I really didn't plan for cancer. And that's the biggest thing, is that cancer doesn't necessarily give you a heads up before.
Yes, it doesn't knock on the door.
No. So it's up to you to make sure, you're doing your checkups, you're doing your annual exams, and that you're aware of your body and that you're always listening to your body, because it has a huge psychological, emotional, mental toll on you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then going through all the treatments, all the side effects are different for younger women.
Yeah.
So the way you're going to respond to chemotherapy or the drugs that they give you after you have, hopefully survived it. All those side effects are different, and your whole journey is different. I mean, you're still, at the time I was diagnosed, I was engaged. I was newly engaged.
You're joking.
I didn't have it in the plans that I'm going to be sitting on
Shout out to your husband, man. I mean, look, I think often we underestimate the psychological impact of dealing with a life-threatening disease like cancer. Gabs FM, power to engage. Well, shout out to Aisha Huey. Well done, my friend, as a survivor of cancer. And these are things that we often take for granted. And shout out to the U.S. Embassy, because that particular show also pushed Gabs FM to do actually breast cancer screening for all the women and employees at Gabs FM. So shout out to the importance of highlighting breast cancer awareness across the nation. Kings and Queens, we can only end the Stars and Stripes radio show by speaking about media freedom. And remember, during the U.S. Africa Leadership Summit, Botswana journalists went to Washington, D.C. to participate and cover this priority summit with President Masisi, and his high-level delegation attended in December 2022. Whether we like it or not, we, the media, are part and parcel of ensuring that Botswana gets to a healthier democracy. We are the fourth arm of government, or the fourth organ of government, and our job is to ensure accountability across the spectrum. Kings and Queens, this is how we're going to close the Stars and Stripes radio show. We'll be back next year on the 6th of January 2023. What am I saying? We're doing an extension, and we're proud to say that the Stars and Stripes radio show is not going anywhere. We're extending it to next year, and next year's a big year for you, the citizen of Botswana, because it is officially open season, the last year before the 2024 democratic elections. Democracy, democracy, democracy. And we're going to be giving you great content on behalf of the Stars and Stripes radio show. Shout out to the U.S. Embassy for putting it together. I've got to thank Ephraim. I've got to thank Aisha. Especially Ephraim and Aisha. They did a great job. I've got to thank Amelia and everybody, including the Chargé, Her Excellency, Amanda Jacobs, and everybody else. Shout out to Gabs FM members. And I hear Gaune also putting her plug in.
Wait, am I not getting a special shout out? Am I everybody? I mean,
we got to thank you for what you've done on behalf of the Stars and Stripes radio show. You did a brilliant
special
job,
mention.
Special mention to Gaune Kumo Matlare, who's done an absolutely amazing job. And you got to the final stages of Yali. Or what's going on? Talk to us. It's okay if you didn't make it. I didn't make it on the first go as well.
No, I did.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
So
why what lo re ke we mo radio nga tona swift
no, look at the end
of the khanza me mo moyeng
what's on like you're Misa broadcaster, radio of the year, radio presenter of the year. Shout out to you, man.
Yeah.
No, but next year I think definitely we've got to go for the US Africa Leadership Summit out in the US. I think it's important for us to go. What do you think?
When is it coming to Bots? I heard that it's going to be coming to Bots. Is it in 2023?
Wow.
I think it is. Yeah.
Seriously?
I think Botswana is going to be hosting the Africa US Summit.
Okay.
And it's funny because we actually had this conversation sometime on the show. I think during the summit when we were like, okay, fine, we really do applaud the US government, but I think it would be nice to have summits like this one where it's Africa, to being held here in Africa. I mean, also I think it would benefit the tourism sector as well.
Absolutely.
So funny enough, a week later, that's when I think I saw, an announcement on social media or something like that.
Okay.
That, the government of Botswana has, I don't know if it's next year or that other year. Yeah, but I think it's something that would be really nice to witness.
Definitely. And of course, what would you like to say to the U.S. Embassy in closing and the BW government and the U.S. government? Because together they've done an amazing job. I mean, the AIDS milestone is a big one. Some of the programs and initiatives that, Botswana have benefited from is a big one. Cancer awareness, etc. What would you like to say?
I think, also, I think for this particular show, I think if there's one thing that we normally do really Botswana is forget important dates like international commemorations and you name it. And one thing that I've noticed with your show, with the Stars and Stripes show, to get it right, is that the fact that we always bring this information to the people, and people always aware when you're outside having conversations. I know I had Swift on the Stars and Stripes show. This is what they were talking about.
Wow.
Hey, so this goes on to show the impact that the show has and definitely the programs that we have outside with the Ministry of Health, I know with the PEPFAR and all those other organizations that are involved that are doing such a massive thing. I also know that sometime back I was the Bias 5 champion.
Wow.
So I had to share the HIV 95 information with people, and all the time when we have these conversations, you see the U.S. Embassy featuring somewhere in. So it goes on to show the amount of work that the U.S. Government has done in Botswana. It's a massive thing and definitely something that needs to be applauded. I appreciate them. I don't know where we would be if they were not, part of these, organizations. Inject a lot of
aid, financial aid. Yes,
I know that after the world got hit with COVID-19, some of the organizations in the Safara, it goes on to show that when the pandemic hit the USA, they had to go back a bit and try to see how to do funding and stuff like that, and we literally just suffered quite a lot. So now you see it goes on to show that they're doing such a great job. So definitely a huge shout out to the American Embassy, American government,
absolutely,
for what they continue to do for us.
And that's how we highlight the bilateral relationship between the Republic of Botswana and the United States government. Hopefully, who knows, next year maybe me and Gaune will be definitely hosting the Stars and Stripes radio show. Next year, my friend, we're going to do democracy. It's a great year next year.
Yeah.
And of course, the show's coming back on January 6th. It's a huge year in line with elections. You know, we are going to be busy talking accountability, healthy democracy. And what else?
And one thing that I've also noticed is the fact that now more and more Botswana are starting to find, interest in issues of democracy.
Yes.
The opinions, the conversation, the debates around the constitutional review have been absolutely amazing and nice to watch. For me,
yes.
I really enjoy the conversations as they go on social media. It goes on to show that definitely the coming year, when we talk issues of democracy, policies and all of that, it means that we're going to be having more Botswana interested. And again, the fact that somebody is interested, it means that they get to read about these things.
Absolutely.
So it makes the conversation really interesting. So now I love to see it happen.
Let me give you a did you know moment. My engagement with the U.S. Embassy and some of the staff at the U.S. Embassy, they were actually informing me and educating me that President Joe Biden does not go anywhere without media. Whether he's going to get a cup of coffee, he has to have independent media accompany him to every corner that he goes to.
Yeah.
Do you think that's something that we need to introduce into, BW government perhaps, because, often we need to have healthy media, engaging with the presidential office. We need to, carry ourselves in that manner. What's your take on that?
Healthy media relations with the government. I love to see it. I actually thought at some point, because I know the government has at some point engaged with private media when they were going to Mozambique.
Yes, that's true. I think Rory Sang was a part of that. Well done.
I love to see it happen. And with the US, Africa Summit, we saw private media going with the president as well. I don't know, but I think it's one of those things. And also currently the government of Botswana hired private media personnel.
Yes,
there wasn't people who are coming in,
including Gabs FM alumni.
Who's that?
Don't do that to me. I'll tell you just now. She's going to kill me.
Yes.
Yes.
She's one of the people that are now at the office of the president, press secretary. So it's good to see it. It goes on, to see the tolerance, I believe.
Yes.
Some people see it, differently. Of course, we've had, again, I love to see the debates happen. Some people saying this is the government's way of shutting down the private media, what not. But I don't know. I enjoy moments like this where there is that healthy relation. Ours is not to fight with the government.
It's to complement.
It's to complement. It's to, to work hand in hand. Like you said, we are another arm. So if this arm says would like for one or two people from your arm to come and assist 1, 2, 3, then it might as well be like that. I mean, that's part of democracy for me, how I see it. So I think we're getting there. It'll be
absolutely
fine. Yeah.
Well, 12:09 is your time, and of course we extended the Stars and Stripes radio show, the last one of the year, January 6th. We're back, and of course look out for more great conversation. This is how we're going to close down the show, talking about a healthy media. Shout out to Aisha, shout out to everybody that put it together, Chucks, Sims, the Gabs FM team. Shout out to you, thank you so much, including Rory Sang and everybody else. Kings and Queens, good afternoon.
During the U.S.-Africa Leadership Summit, Botswana journalists went to Washington, D.C. to participate and cover this priority summit, which President Masisi and his high-level delegation attended in December 2022. The goal of the summit was to further advance areas of long-standing cooperation between the U.S. and Africa, such as global health, food security, and democracy and peace. And last but surely not least, We've got to do a little plug here for this show, America and Botswana Stars and Stripes. We launched in July 2022. Every week, in partnership with Gabs FM, we give you something new, something blue, and we now have 25 episodes. If you would like to listen to any of them, please visit our website at bw.usembassy.gov. Look for the Stars and Stripes show under the Education and Culture section. We look forward to continuing this program and bringing important topics and discussions to you in the coming year. And with that, on behalf of the U.S. Mission in Botswana, I'd like to wish you a happy new year. If 2023 is anything like 2022, then we are in for another year of amazing partnership and successes. Cheers to the wonderful U.S.-Botswana bilateral relations our two nations enjoy. Maboho Diinku. Here are some snippets from some of our previous shows.
The Stars and Stripes show was brought to you by the U.S. Embassy.